COVID struggle beard is in full effect. All right, guys, welcome to another episode of Six Figures to Bigger Figures. This is my story of how I inherited, lost, regained, and will surpass a six-figure net worth. I'm gonna bring you guys along with me for the journey. All I ask is that you like, share, and subscribe to @6FTBF. Now, today, I want to talk about leases and how you're probably doing it wrong.
It's 6 digits.
Now, first, what are leases? Leases are just a contractual agreement between you and another party that grants you right of use to an asset in exchange for payments, rent, lease payments, what have you. Okay? Now, as you guys know already, I'm big on ownership, but there's some circumstances in which getting into a lease agreement might actually be beneficial to you. Okay? But it's important to remember that this lease agreement only grants you a right of use. All right, it's not yours. Now, also, I'm going to get into the advantages of a lease from the perspective of the leasee, which would be you if you're, let's say, paying on the car that you're leasing, and the advantages to the lessor, the person who actually owns the asset that's allowing you to rent it. All right, this is gonna give you some perspective and help you get the full picture of what's going on. Then I'm gonna answer the age-old question that it's been around forever. Should you lease or buy your car? Okay, stick to the end, I give the answer. All right, now let's get into it. What are some of the advantages from the leasee's perspective? And there are some. The main one is flexibility. Okay, this is a short-term arrangement for the most part, or at least it should be. All right, now you may be in a situation where you're very uncertain how long you're going to be in this certain arrangement, but you do need a car. You may be traveling XYZ. Maybe a lease is a good idea, right? So it gives you that flexibility to have the option to make sudden changes if you need it, okay? There should be lower monthly payments. If you're leasing, let's say, a car, and your monthly payments are higher or the same as if you were financing the car, like you purchased it, you're being screwed, okay? So make sure that your lease payments are lower than financing the car. It should at least be lower. And it's less hassle. It's not your asset, so you don't have to maintain it, in theory. Right? If something goes wrong with it, you just take it back to the owner, say, hey, this is not working for me. Get me another one, fix it, what have you, right? And taxes is probably an honorable mention, okay? The reason why I say taxes is an honorable mention, because I've heard this so many times. I remember I was looking into purchasing a car, and I went to the dealership, and the salesperson told me, hey, it's a great tax benefit to lease a car. I was like, word? Please, pray tell. Because the same reason why a lease would be tax deductible still qualifies if you were to purchase a car, right? The reasons whether you can deduct it as a lease versus purchasing the car does not change. That underlying reason is still the same. Okay, what changes is your cash flow situation. So it's more of a business decision. So there's an election called the 179 section election that you can take that allows you to deduct up to $1 million in business-related expenses or for equipment. Cars are included. The deduction is now limited to maybe about $20,000 for a car, but more or less it's the same thing. So now what you're really asking is, do we want to deduct it over a period of time, or do we want to just take one deduction and hold on to this car, right? But then you don't have the flexibility if you wanted to get out of it or what have you, right? But the tax reason is still the same. It's more of a cash flow reason and how it works for you. Now, what are some of the advantages from the lessor's perspective? And this is important. This is going to give you some perspective. All right. There's the number one reason why a leasing company leases. Well, is to make money, obviously. But it's due to price realization, right? Price realization is a business's ability to get you, the customer, to pay the list price for a product. Leasing companies price their leases in a manner that allows them or maximizes their opportunity to realize the total price of an asset. For purpose of simplicity, I'm gonna keep it with a car. We just assume we're speaking about a car here. You have your list price, and then you have something what they call residual value. Now they communicate to you, in most cases, the residual value, but they're the ones determining the residual value. And the residual value is essentially what the company projects the value of the car will be at the end of the lease term. So whether it's 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, they have some smart people, some finance people in there, they know how to calculate this, and they put it in the price of the leasing agreement. Now, think about this. The company that owns the asset is now going to tell you what their asset is going to be worth in 3 years. That should let you know everything what you need to know, okay? So in that case, who do you think they're looking out for? Are they looking out for your interests, or are they looking out for their interests? All right? So now, with the price to lease, how the price to lease is price of asset, residual value, and then the lease term. What the lease payment is, solve for X, is what the payments it would take to take down that price to the residual value at the end of the lease term, plus lease fees, plus finance costs, plus overusage costs. All right, they're gonna get theirs. Make sure you get yours. So you gotta make sure it makes sense to you, okay? Now, the longer the lease term, the happier the company. One of the worst things you can do is lease a car for 5 years or more. In that case, you essentially have paid the price of the car and you still don't own it. Okay, so that's one of the worst things you can do if you're in a leasing arrangement. Don't lease the same vehicle for 5 years and above. Okay, that's a complete waste of money. Now, it may work out for you in your business situation, maybe, maybe not. I don't know, but you don't want to do that. Okay, that's asinine. Might as well you get a new asset, exchange it, get something brand new, sparkling, make it work for you, get the latest and greatest. Don't pay for that car 2 and 3 times over. Which brings me to a really good point. Now, allow me to deter for a little bit. Allow me to rant. This is why cell phone companies are trash. All right? Back in my day, when I was in college, long time ago, you could purchase a phone for an iPhone or whatever for about $150, $200. That's because the carrier would subsidize the cost of the phone in exchange for you signing an extended contract to be with that carrier exclusively. And it was a decent deal because the phone was yours. Now, in today's arrangement, you have more flexibility. You can get out of contracts earlier, but that phone is not yours. Every carrier has this leasing business model with their cell phones, and it's screwing you over. Okay, if you want to actually purchase the phone, first of all, if you're going to ask an associate that you want to purchase a phone, you say, hey, I would like to purchase the phone. It's almost like there's a malfunction there. They're like, does not compute. What do you mean, right? But if you want to purchase the phone, it's going to cost you at least $1,000. If you're talking about, whatever, it's going to cost you at least $1,000. Now, they train their sales associates to tell you this is a deal because you can get a new phone every 2 years. The lease payments is about $25. Just for $25, you can get this nice sparkly pretty phone, and you get a nice new sparkly pretty phone in the next 2 years or in the next year or whatever, and you perpetually have a right to use a phone without actually using or owning that phone. Owning the phone. 4 or 5 years, you probably purchased 2, 3 phones in cost, and you still don't own a phone. It's trash. All right. Then they make you insure their phone to protect their phone from loss. If you drop that phone, newsflash, you're gonna pay that. You're gonna owe them money. So then they make you insure their asset. It's a sweet deal. Then when your lease is up, they put it in very small print on your bill. I'm talking from experience. This has happened to me. I had to call them and say, hey, listen, I worked for one of the, dare I say, one of the best leasing companies in the world. I know how this works. Please do not force me to pay pay for the price of this phone after the lease is expired. So I was like, hey, I know how this works. My lease expired 3 months ago. Now you're quoting me to purchase this phone the same price that it should have been months ago. I've already paid for the phone. At this case, at this point, I already paid for the phone. Why are you quoting me a price that I should have gotten 3-4 months ago when the lease actually expired, right? But in any case, make sure you look at the fine print on your bill, okay? They don't want you to take action when your lease is up. They want you to stay within the lease so you can continue to pay for that phone 2 and 3 times over. Then there's a new model that comes out that you like. You go in, rinse, repeat. And the cycle continues over and over and over. So here's what I want you guys to do. There's some do's here. Do strive to own your phone outright. Look for deals. Look for persons selling them. Some of these carriers would sell, I guess, residual phones, maybe a year older. So, like, in a lot of cases, these phones are in perfectly good shape. Go ahead and get it. You don't need the latest and greatest phone. You don't. I know, I hear you. You don't. Right? Do pay attention to your lease terms. Understand. Work the math out. Tell them to work the math out for you. I think they make it somewhat clear, but ask them, work it out for me. If I put $150 down today, then I pay $20 for 3 years or 2 years, and then my purchase option at the end of the lease is $250. How much is that? Then know it. Put it in your head. And then compare that to what it would be if you wanted to purchase the phone right now. Should be about the same. But it might be a little bit higher to lease it, right? Because that's what leasing companies do. That's how they make their money, right? Do not pay over list price for your phone. Very important. This is why you have to take action when your lease comes to term. Pay attention. Do not get insurance on your phone. It's trash. The margins on insurance on your phone is ridiculous. Trust me. Invest in a really good phone case. Seriously. Get a really good phone case. Get that really good cover for your phone screen. Right? Take care of it. Well, for their phone. And take care of it. If you really insist on getting something, then get Apple Care if it's an Apple phone. That's way better than any insurance product out there. On God. Now, last, do not upgrade your phone every year. That's the okie doke. That's how they keep you in there. That's how you continue to lease for a phone over and over and over and over and never actually own a phone. All right, you end up paying $3,000 over time and you still don't have a phone. Something happens to it, you still owe a company money. That's not what we want to do. All right. Now, I digress a little bit, but I want to make sure I'm protecting you guys. Okay. Now, the age-old question: should you lease or should you buy your car? And the answer is, it depends. Now, seriously, if you do not have a business and you just like work for a company, have no businesses, and this is a car that you need, more than likely you want to finance that car if you can't buy it outright. And get a used car. Don't ever get a new car. Get a certified used car. Those cars are in really good shape. And you get a way better deal. That's what you want to do. Now, if you have a business, then it becomes a cash flow decision. Do I want to expend all that cash right away, or do I want to stretch it out over the term and get some of the flexibility? So more than likely, if you have a business, then you want to lease that car. That is the answer to the age-old question. All right, I'm gonna stop it right here. Appreciate it. Make sure y'all like, share, and subscribe. If you have any questions, hit me up. And see me in the comments. All right? Not trying to show off or anything. Remember that. Just trying to show you a vibe. All right?
It's 6 digits.